I knew something was off the second the monitor started beeping in a room that was supposed to be empty. Not background noise, not something you tune out. This was sharp, irregular, urgent in a way that made my chest tighten before I even processed it. Room 214 had been cleared an hour ago. I remember doing it. Fresh sheets, chart gone, lights dimmed, empty. "Lena, you hear that?" She didn't look up. "Loose lead. Go check." Of course. Week 3, and I was still the one checking things no one else wanted to get up for. I glanced back at the screen. Pulse climbing. 120, 130, 140. No patient assigned. My fingers were already cold. The hallway felt off. Not wrong enough to stop you, just enough that your steps didn't feel right, like you were a half second behind yourself. Lights flickered overhead, subtle, annoying. I stopped at the door to 214, just for a second, then pushed it open. The bed was empty. Exactly how I left it. The monitor wasn't. Beeping. Fast. "Hello?" It came out automatically, like if I said it first, whatever was happening would make sense. No answer. Then the oxygen line twitched. A short, sharp movement. I stared at it, waiting for it to swing back. It didn't. The room felt sealed. No airflow, no background noise, just the monitor. The sheet dipped, slow, controlled, like something settling into place. My body locked before my brain caught up. Not fear, not yet. Something worse. Refusal. Like if I didn't move, it wouldn't be real. I took a step back, then another. "No," I said under my breath. "No, that's not..." The monitor spiked again. For a second, I almost moved forward. Training. Instinct. But my hands didn't follow. They just stayed there. Useless. Something touched my wrist. Not imagined. A hand. I jerked back hard enough to hit the IV stand behind me. Metal clanged. The sheet flattened instantly. The monitor cut out. Silence dropped back in like nothing had happened. My hands were already on the radio. "Lena, I need you in 214, now." Static. I tried again. "Lena?" Nothing. Just that low hiss. She came in a few seconds later, already annoyed. "What's the emergency?" There was... I stopped. My mouth felt dry. "I don't know what that was." She frowned, stepped past me, checked the monitor. "It's off." I didn't turn it off. She looked at me longer this time, then sighed. "Come with me." Like getting out of that room would fix it. Neither of us said anything on the way, just distance from that room. In storage, she went straight to an old file box. 214. She flipped through folders faster than I expected, like she already knew this was here. She handed one to me. 3 months ago. Marcus, mid-30s, workplace accident. He coded in that room. Lena tapped the page. He wasn't alone. I looked up. Nurse stepped out, said she heard a call. A pause. There wasn't one. I looked back down. Pulse returned, briefly. She went back? Lena nodded once. I stared at the line again. No logs. What happened to her? she quit. Next day. Why? Lena hesitated. Said someone grabbed her while she was doing compressions. My hands started shaking again. Okay, I said, trying to laugh. So, equipment? No. She pointed to the timestamp. 3:12 a.m. I checked my watch. 3:14. We stood there in silence. Then my radio crackled. Code Blue, room 214. I froze. That's not funny. Lena hadn't touched hers. The voice came again. Code Blue, room 214. We ran. The hallway felt wrong again. Too quiet. When we reached the room, the door was already open. The monitor was on, beeping, fast. There was someone on the bed. I stopped so suddenly, Lena nearly ran into me. No, I said under my breath, because the bed had been empty. We both saw that. A man lay there, pale, eyes half open. My brain lagged behind what I was seeing. Then it hit. Marcus. That's him, I said. It didn't sound like help. It sounded like I wasn't supposed to know that. Lena grabbed my arm hard. Don't. Not calm, not controlled. His lips moved. She left. My stomach dropped. Who? His eyes shifted past me. I turned. The doorway was empty, but I heard footsteps, walking away. Slow, even. The monitor spiked. Lena shook me. Call it in. I grabbed the radio. Code Blue confirmed. I looked back. The bed was empty. Nothing there, just the monitor. Flatline. Lena whispered, We both saw him. I nodded. My chest felt tight. I went back to the file later, alone, read it again, slower, and then I saw it. The nurse's name. It wasn't in the system. No record, just a first name. I already knew it before I read it. Mine. I checked the timestamp again. Same date. Same time. The handwriting. I stared at it too long, then stopped pretending. Mine. It didn't come back all at once. Just pieces. The hallway. The call I thought I heard. The door behind me. The call. I remember hesitating, just for a second, and then choosing the wrong direction. I sat there, staring at the file. Same time, same room, same pattern. My fingers tightened on the paper. It didn't feel new. It felt familiar. The radio crackled. Code Blue, room 214. I didn't move, didn't breathe, because I didn't know anymore if I was already in the part where I leave. I woke up choking on air, sheets twisted, skin cold. My heart was still racing. I didn't check the time. I already knew. My phone buzzed. 3:12 a.m. Again. The room was quiet. Then, my phone vibrated again. Incoming call. Hospital line. I stared at the screen. It kept ringing. And under it, faint, buried, a monitor. Fast. Climbing. The monitor sound didn't stop. It blended with the ringtone for a second, long enough that I couldn't tell which one I was actually hearing. Then it cut out. Silence snapped back in. I opened my eyes. Dark ceiling. Familiar. My room. For a second, I just lay there, not moving. Listening. No monitor, no hallway, no voices. Just my breathing. Too fast. I swallowed, forcing air in slower. "Okay," I muttered. "Just a dream." It came out automatic, like something I'd said before. I reached for my phone. 3:12 a.m. Of course. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. My chest still felt tight, like something was pressing from the inside. But it was over. It was just... The ringtone cut through the room again. Sharp. Real. I flinched so hard my shoulder hit the headboard. The phone lit up in my hand. Incoming call. Hospital line. For a second, I just stared at it. My thumb hovered over the screen. Didn't move. It rang, and rang, and rang. Something in my chest started to build again. Slow. Heavy. Not panic. Recognition. I declined the call. The silence after felt worse. Too clean. Too empty. I set the phone down carefully, like it might go off again if I moved too fast. Then I sat there, waiting. Nothing happened. No sound. No second call. No monitor. Just the dark. I leaned forward, pressing my palms into my eyes, trying to ground myself. Bed. Room. Apartment. Not the hospital. Not that room. Not... I opened my eyes again, and for a second, I didn't recognize where I was. Fluorescent light. Too bright. Too white. The smell hit next. Clean. Chemical. Wrong. I was sitting upright, not in my bed. I was at a desk. Stacks of paper in front of me. A computer screen. Daylight bleeding through half-closed blinds. My hands were on a chart. Still. Frozen mid-page. I inhaled sharply. Air caught in my throat. This was real. Not the room. Not the call. This. Clinic. Outpatient. Paperwork. Safe. I must have drifted off. Just for a second. It's been happening more lately. Long shifts. No sleep. My body just shuts down sometimes. My heart was still racing like I'd been running, but nothing around me had changed. No alarms, no voices, just the quiet hum of the building. I looked down at the chart again. The handwriting blurred for a second. I blinked hard, focused. I knew what this was. Not the dream, not the call, this feeling. It never started with the room. That's just where it ends. It starts with the hallway, the call, and the moment I stopped, just for a second. That's all it took. I leaned back slowly in the chair. My hands were shaking again. Not from fear, from memory. 6 months ago. Night shift. Room 214. He wasn't stable. Everyone knew it. I remember looking at the monitor. Numbers fluctuating. Not critical, but not good. Then the call. From down the hall. Clear. Urgent. Someone needed help. I hesitated. Just for a second. Looking between the door and the monitor. I told myself I'd be quick. Just check. Come right back. I remember stepping into the hallway and realizing almost immediately no one had called. No lights, no voices, nothing. I turned back, but it wasn't a second anymore. By the time I got to the room, the monitor was already flat. I tried. Of course I tried. But it was different. Too late. I pressed my lips together, hard enough it hurt. The clinic felt too quiet now. Administration said it wasn't my fault. Unpredictable deterioration. Timing coincidence. Nothing you could have done. They moved me. Outpatient. Paperwork. Less risk. I nodded. Signed whatever they gave me. Didn't argue. Because arguing would mean saying it out loud. That I knew exactly when it happened. The moment I stepped away. The moment I chose wrong. I looked down at my hands, still shaking. They'd stopped feeling like mine a long time ago. The dream started a few weeks after. Same room, same monitor, same moment. Sometimes I move, sometimes I don't. It doesn't change anything. He always ends up there, and I always know exactly when I should have stayed. I leaned back in the chair again, staring at nothing. The clinic was quiet, normal, safe, but it didn't feel like it. Because the worst part isn't the dream, it's waking up and knowing it already happened, and that no matter how many times I see it again, I don't get to change it. I looked down at my hands, still on the chart, still in the clinic. Daylight still bleeding through the blinds like nothing had shifted. I breathed out, long and slow. The kind of breath you take when you're trying to convince yourself the ground is still there. I rolled my neck, blinked hard, planted both feet flat on the floor. Desk, chair, stack of files, coffee going cold. Real. All of it. Real. I picked up my pen, found my place on the chart, tried to read the words in front of me. They made sense for about 4 seconds. Then the building made a sound. Not the HVAC, not pipes. A tone. Faint. Electronic. Familiar in a way that made my hand stop moving. I told myself it was the overhead speakers. A test tone, a glitch, something with an easy answer. But it didn't stop, and it wasn't steady. It climbed. I pushed back from the desk, stood up, told my legs to feel normal. They didn't listen. I stepped into the hallway, the outpatient wing, daytime, quiet in the way that should feel safe. But the sound was louder here, coming from the left, from one of the side rooms. I walked toward it without deciding to. My feet knew the rhythm, measured, even. Nurse's walk, not running, but not dawdling either. That particular speed the body learns to hold when you've done this long enough. I stopped outside the door. The sound was in there, sharp, irregular, urgent in a way that made my chest tighten before I even processed it. I looked at the number on the door. My mouth went dry. 214. This room had been cleared. I was certain of it. No patient assigned. I'd checked the board less than an hour ago. The monitor kept going, climbing. 120, 130, 140. My fingers were already cold. I recognized that too. The specific cold that isn't about temperature. I knew what would happen if I opened it. I'd been here before, or I'd dreamed I'd been here before. The line between those two things had stopped being clear a long time ago. I stood there a long time, long enough that the smart thing would have been to walk away. Call someone. Let someone else check. But I already knew I wasn't going to do that, because the monitor was still beeping, and maybe this time I'd stay. I put my hand on the door. Cold. Same temperature as before. Same everything as before. The monitor spiked. I pushed it open. The bed was empty. Exactly how I left it. The monitor wasn't. Beeping. Fast. I knew something was off the second the monitor started beeping in a room that was supposed to be empty. Not background noise, not something you tune out. I was already inside the room. I didn't remember walking through the door. I didn't remember deciding to. Fresh sheets, chart gone, lights dimmed, empty. I stood in the room, in the dark, with the beeping, and the smell, and a feeling I couldn't name. Something between recognition and dread. Not new. Never knew. I thought, maybe this time I'll stay. Maybe this time I won't hear anything in the hallway. Maybe this time I'll be the person who doesn't leave. Then I heard it. From the hallway. Clear. Urgent. Someone needed help. I hesitated, just for a second, looking between the door and the monitor. The call was right there, and so was the monitor. And for one single second, I held both at once. And then, I stepped into the hallway and left him there.